Where all my Billy Clan members at? Watching 40 Days of Fashion, tuning in from day to day. Wondering what Billy doing next. Fashion money's next mistake. Go get y'all like all y'all bags. Day 36, day 36, day 36, day 36. Oh, my bad. I thought I was still hearing the music. My bad. Before we get started, make sure y'all like, comment, share, and subscribe so you don't miss any more All Things Miscellaneous videos. If you want to see more Billy, i.e. me, make sure y'all subscribe, okay? Today, first of all, let's just fill the room with thank you. Because we are so close to 40th day of 40 Days of Fashion. Okay? And our clan has grown since day one. Okay. We have 11 more members of the Billy clan. Like, that is amazing in itself. That is very amazing. Okay. Let's continue to grow. My goal is 500 subs by January. Okay. I'm asking that y'all help me make that happen. Okay, let's get started. So today's topic is sustainability. We're going to be reintroducing that. We talked about that throughout 40 Days of Fashion. We touched a little bit on it yesterday when we was talking about slow fashion. Sustainability is actually the heart of slow fashion. You know, the whole concept of slow fashion is making something that will last a long time, you know, years from now, and it's still in good condition and don't have holes in it and the threads coming loose and the fibers untangling and all that stuff. It's holding up well. Okay. You need something that holds up well when being washed, when being stored, when being worn. We need the clothes that we wear to be functional. If it's made to protect us during the winter, it needs to be able to keep us warm. For the summertime, it needs to be able to keep us cool. For athleisure wear or athletic wear, we need to make sure that it moves with our body and has those moisture wicking properties that keeps the sweat that accumulates away from our body, off of our body, onto the fabric, but not absorbing it. So it takes the water away from our body, the process of adsorbing. Okay. And sustainability, we've mentioned it time and time again. Sustainability is the process of taking something, turning it into something that is longer lasting by different techniques and practices and processes. This includes reusing things such as dye water, for example. When dyeing clothing and fabrics, the dye water could be reused. It could be cleaned up a little bit, reused to dye other lots of fabric, and that will save money, that will save water, that will save dyes, because all these dyes have chemicals in them. And these chemicals are, of course, bad for our bodies, and those dyes get absorbed into our skin, as well as the petrochemicals, the ones that accumulate from petroleum-based fibers found in a lot of synthetic materials that we wear, mainly polyester, and elastane, nylon, so on and so forth. And these fibers, the chemicals in them, they absorb into our skin and they become endocrine disruptors, and they disrupt the process of us receiving basic notifications from our brain into our brain. That's kind of like the whole process of the system, the endocrine system. So it's important to make sure that we're paying careful attention to what we are putting on our bodies, what we are inhaling, what we are consuming, what we are eating, drinking, things like that. Now, sustainability is all about reusing things, and it could be simple stuff like we talked about in some videos ago. You preserving water when you're not using it in the morning to brush your teeth, okay? When you're taking shorter showers, when you're resorting to using your electricity less and you're using the natural light more during the day and just only using electricity when you need to, that is a form of sustainability. So sustainability kind of also goes hand in hand with the zero waste cutting mechanism, because it allows the fabric waste to be in circulation again. So sustainability promotes a more circular economy, versus a linear one. Let me explain a little bit the difference of those two. So circular economies are where the garment is made and produced, is given to the customer, and the customer finds another way to reuse it, or the store that they bought it from finds a way to do it for the customer to make it into something else. And then it goes all back around, instead of it just being the linear economy where the fabric and items are made, they're given to the retailers, the customer purchases them, the customer wears it, gets tired of it, and discards it. That is a linear economy. And that is very popular, but we need to learn to steer away from and deviate away from that way of living and that way of acting and behaving, because it is disruptive and it is detrimental to our overall health. The fashion industry relies on sustainability and will benefit the most from it, because it will open up the portal to a whole new aspect of fashion called ecotourism. Ecotourism is a newer form of fashion. It's based on sustainable fabrics that are not really made from many persistent chemicals, or they're made from natural ones or recycled fibers and materials. And the ecotourism fashion is important to the overall structure of the fashion industry, because it has the potential to change it for the better. Some of the waste can be prevented. Some of the waste can be limited. But when you're so fixated on a certain way of doing things, you get accustomed to having all of this waste. So implementing sustainability into fashion allows us to look at fashion in a whole completely different way, other than what we normally think we should use it. So like we mentioned in the video yesterday in slow versus fast fashion, when we talked about pre and post consumer waste, pre-consumer waste, that's the waste that accumulates when the fabric is made and when the clothing is made. So this comes from making the patterns, this comes from waters, dyes, threads, and fabric, and materials that don't get used, parts of the fabric that doesn't get used. And post-consumer waste is the completed garment, completely thrown away, because it's not used, it's not worn, unwanted, and we just throw it away. And we're like, oh, well, we're just throwing it away. We don't need it. There's no purpose in us doing anything. But the fibers can be reused. They could be transformed into another garment. But it's easier to do with a non-blended item. So like if it's like 100% cotton, it'll be easier for it to be recycled and repurposed versus if it's a blend, like a cotton polyester blend. It's just harder to separate those materials from one another. When it comes to sustainability, we really need to implement that into our daily lives as the fashion industry, from the textile manufacturing point to the retailer point. We need to make sure we're doing it all across the board. And we also need to implement more transparency. Transparency about who makes the clothes, where the clothes come from, who the animals are, how the animals were raised, and which like the clothing that we use, like for wool and alpaca, we need to make sure that those animals are not being abused. Also, we need to make sure that the plant fibers don't have any chemicals on them, or there's just so much to consider at like all these different levels. And it's up to the entire fashion industry, all aspects of the whole fashion supply chain, to make sure that sustainability is being implemented at all levels. That being said, I know we talked about sustainability a lot this series, and this will probably be like the last time from now that we mention it during the series. And if you found this video to be helpful and interesting in any way, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. And thank you for watching, and tune in for day 37.